Welcome to pre-calculus video for skill number 17. I can use inequalities to graph a solution set and translate to interval notation or set builder notation. Featured below is a gyroscope which allows us to find north when we are out in space. My trivia question for the video is, which planets lack a magnetic field? Which planets in our solar system lack a magnetic field like Earth? Alright, so when we're talking about a set of numbers, we can express it in several ways. Originally, we first started talking about with numbers, or a set of numbers in words. We'd say the set of all real numbers between 3 and 7. So we couldn't actually list them all. We'd say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but then we also have 3.5. We have 3.1, we have 3.001, 3.00001. So we couldn't list all of the numbers. So we've created different ways to list all of the numbers. So this description in words tells us what we're trying to list. We can use other kinds of notation. And the one that we're most familiar with so far is inequality notation. And basically we want all the numbers between 3 and 7, including 3, but not including 7. So we can say x is greater than or equal to 3, and x is less than 7. And more commonly we write this as a single expression. 3 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 7. If we wanted to express that notation using set builder, we can actually take our inequality notation and we plug it into the set builder notation. And what we have here is braces x, and then this vertical bar, and there's a parenthesis. X is an element, so this is kind of a C that's made to look like an E, and then the set of R. So the way we read this is the set of all x such that 3 is less than or equal to x is less than 7, and x is an element of the real numbers. That's a lot. The most important part is this, though for it to technically be set builder notation, we need that. And we close the set with not parentheses, but braces. And one easy way to draw braces is you draw two parentheses above and below each other, and then kind of a caret between the two of them. So that's set builder notation. We can also do interval notation, which is a really common form. And what we'll do is we put our lower boundary on the left and our upper boundary on the right, and then we choose whether to use parentheses or brackets. We put brackets on it when we're including the value. So we've got 3 is included, so we use the bracket, whereas 7 is not included, so we use the parentheses. So a lot of times you'll hear me say hard bracket 3, comma, soft parentheses 7. Or the set from 3 to 7, including 3, excluding 7. This is by far the most common method for talking about sets, particularly for going into calculus. We use that form very often. Finally, all of this we can graph it, and we've talked about this earlier in the year, but graphing, what we're going to do is we'll have a closed circle at 3 because we're including 3, and then an open circle at 7 because we are excluding 7, and then we connect that with a line. Finally, as a quick aside, there's also roster notation, which we didn't really demonstrate here because roster notation is not possible. I'm not going to test you on this skill test on roster notation, but I did want to mention that this is another type of notation that gets used. Pictures of our love, past right behind me. Your eyes are enough to Here's kind of a quick verbal breakdown of all the pieces for set builder notation. So what this is saying is the set of all x such that. So the set of all x such that. And then we put in our inequality notation, and then finally we say x is an element of the real numbers. This kind of comes into play when we get into a little bit more trickier sets, which I won't introduce for this particular skill, but sometimes x is an element of integers rather than real numbers, or x is an element of the natural numbers, etc. So this can change, but for all intents and purposes, for our skill number 17, it'll always be like this. The breakdown of the interval notation I covered on the last page, but a hard bracket means include, so this means include, and the soft parentheses means exclude. So this is from 3 to 7, like that. Example 2, I just quickly showed all 4 methods. Got to close my braces there. All 4 methods there. We've got a drawing of the set, and then we're going to change it into interval notation. So we have the first piece, open parentheses on 1, closed bracket on 2, and then we're going to put that in union with the set from 5 to infinity. So we go from 5 to infinity, that's going to be all the numbers right of 5, not including 5, and we always put a soft parentheses on infinity. In the second or third line, what we've got is an inequality notation, which we then feed into part of our set builder. And for this test, for this skill test, I will give you one of the 4 forms, and you have to generate the other 3 forms. And I'll do that for a couple of them. Thanks for watching the video for skill 17, and the gyroscope featured below is actually used in space to point towards the North Star. When it's made, it points at the North Star and stays forever pointing at the North Star, regardless of where the gyros compass moves throughout space. This allows us to find north even outside of the magnetic field of Earth. Not all planets have magnetic fields, and the trivia question was, what planets in our solar system lack magnetic fields? And Venus and Mars do not have magnetic fields.